All right, game time. Ready to go. Ready to go. Tech meeting? Oh boy. Alright, tech meeting. Alright, painting. Moving things. Alright. ASAP. Alright, ready to go.
The average high school student athlete can spend up to 15 hours weekly practicing for sports. That proves true when we take a look at Neil Knudsen, a basketball player who practices about 12 hours a week with his only off day being Sunday. Most student athletes are confined to just sports due to practicing, games, schedule clashes, etc. But for Neil, that is not the case. He manages to balance sports and performing arts, along with making time for friends and family. We will be exploring how doing both can affect high school students and how being involved in more than just sports can benefit.
Tech allows Neil the opportunity to express his creativity and to pursue other things outside the realm of academic.
When it comes to tech, Neil only has to set aside Tuesdays and Saturday mornings. However, even those days are optional. Schedules within the Performing Arts Society often work around each other to allow kids to do multiple extracurricular activities at the same time.
This flexibility is what allows Neil to be involved in so much.
Sports is a different case, though. During basketball season, Neil has to dedicate more than half of his after-school free time to practices or games. These everyday after-school practices may hinder his or others' ability to be involved in other extracurriculars or clubs.
Hi Neil, what extracurriculars are you involved in?
All right, so I'm part of class council, principal's advisory council, National Honor Society. I'm on the math team. I do set crew for the musical. I do like run crew, so like moving the props and stuff like that. And then for the play, I do mics, and then I'm also on the varsity basketball team.
Wow. Out of all of those activities, which one is the most time consuming?
By far basketball. Basketball takes up literally like 5 months every single day. Like I need to dedicate some time to like thinking about basketball or planning my schedule in regards towards basketball.
So in regards to basketball and all your other things, like how do you make it work?
Just scheduling out, talking to the coaches or the directors and such, figuring out where to like dedicate my time and stuff, and also make sure I get like my regular schoolwork done.
Do you consider yourself to be a good time manager?
Not as good as I used to be, but I still have to manage my time in order to keep up with everything and like stay on track with all of my activities and regular like daily life and schoolwork. Question.
Do you think others could take on as much as you do?
I think as long as they have like that drive and can find that like internal motivation, they'd be able to. Like if they can like, especially if they're like a very like gregarious person and like looking to build relationships with other people, because that's one of the big motivations for me participating in all these extracurriculars, is looking to build new relationships with people.
Neil isn't the only student at Grant that is involved in both sports and the PAS. In this picture, you see that numerous students do both activities.
Hi Liv.
Hi.
Thank you for being here with us.
You're welcome.
So can you tell me all the extracurriculars you are involved in?
I'm involved in varsity dance and band.
Oh, that's very interesting. Now, can you tell me how often do you have dance practice?
Every single day after school until 6 o'clock, and sometimes in the mornings before school.
Okay.
And on Saturdays in the morning for 3 hours.
Okay, wow. Now, can you tell me, does that ever interfere with you playing your flute?
I would say it interferes with practice time, but other than that, it doesn't interfere with like going to band rehearsals
Yes, because one is band rehearsal.
during the school day.
And so that makes it pretty convenient, does it?
Yeah. Okay. So I was in marching band freshman year, and then I quit halfway through because it was too much of a commitment with dance. And some people did do both, but it was just like a lot.
What extracurriculars are you involved in?
I'm on varsity tennis, and I'm in 3 after-school choirs, chamber singers, anthem singers, and I have a quartet. I'm on speech team, and that's it.
So you're involved in sports as well as the Performing Arts Society.
Yes.
How do you manage your time? Like, how do you find time to like do your homework in the midst of everything?
It's not that difficult with like team time, and during lunch I can even do it if I need to. And I have a lot of time too at like speech and other extracurriculars in like free time during that, and then when I get home I still have time to like finish up my homework and even go to like after school activities like basketball games and stuff.
I see. So you make everything work. You're thriving.
Yeah.
We asked 2 teachers, Mr. Austin, the art director for our school's theater program, and Ms. Shifley, a coach for the dance team, and how they've dealt with kids who take on both athletics and performing arts.
As a director in the Performing Arts Society, have you ever had a student who wanted to be in sports and in the PAS?
Yes.
How many do you come across?
About 2 or 3 a year.
As a coach, have you ever had your members want to be in both sports and PAS?
Absolutely all the time. So yeah, I've definitely had many athletes. This year I think there's 4 of them that are in band and theater as well as dance.
Do you ever feel like they're spreading themselves too thin? Like, is it a good idea to do both?
I encourage students to get involved as much as possible here at Grant. They do quite frequently run into situations where they are forced to choose, in my opinion, between participating in the Performing Arts Society and other co-curricular athletics.
I think that, especially with dance, because it is part of a lot of things that are connected with, the arts. Obviously, it is a performing art, but it's also athletic. I think that it's hard to juggle, but I think it depends on the student. So some students are really great at time management, and they can juggle being involved in a lot of things after school on top of staying, up with their grades and everything. But some students feel overwhelmed, stuff in the past. So I'm all for it if the student can handle it. But I think it's really important to make sure that that student reflects on if it feels like too much. I don't want them to feel spread too thin. So they kind of have to make sure that they're managing their own emotions and stresses and stuff in the process of it.
I agree that it's harder for kids in sports to do other things than it is for PAS kids to do other things.
Yes, because students who participate in the Performing Arts Society have the luxury of the directors in the Performing Arts Society all kind of like organizing their rehearsals to where they can maximize participation, where you can be in choir or in a band ensemble and still participate in theater and musical or fall play.
So, do you agree that it's harder for kids in sports to do other extracurricular activities besides their own sport than it is for PAS kids to do that?
So I think that it's a juggle either way. I definitely think that sports are a little bit more limited because you're, at least from what I know, I'm not gonna say I'm like a total expert on like how, the competitions for some of the PAS events work. But I think that you're confined to other schools' schedules a lot more strictly with the way that the sports like competitions work. Like we have to practice at a certain time so that the game can exist at a certain time, and it's like every single school has the same schedule. And I think that a lot of times PAS events tend to be later in the evening, so there's practices and stuff, but they can be flexible to what works with like grant students a lot of times. But I also know that they have competitions and stuff too, and there's events and things that are tied to schedules. So I think that I would say,
As a director in the Performing Arts, what accommodations do you make for students who wish to be in both Performing Arts and athletics?
We, in set design and construction, are very flexible with our schedules. Students are able to participate when they have free time, when they can. I never discourage students from making a choice of one over the other, so ultimately it's the student's choice to if they want to participate or not. I'm never going to tell them they can't do something.
So, as a coach, what accommodations do you make for your team members who wish to be in both PAS and athletics?
So I always, communication first. I always stress communication. So I have some members right now that are in a few different choirs and they go to their practice right after school. And as long as we set a time limit where I know that they're, bending a little bit there and I'm bending a little bit where I feel like it's fair and I'm not being taken advantage of. And it's also at the end of the day too, like not hurting the other people in the organization, So it's all about finding balance through the communication. We've also worked out, like I said, with the halftime. So I really try to communicate with the other directors as much as possible and have the students do the same communication, and we sit down with calendars and try to make it work, but everybody's got to give a little bit.
Right.
How do you view Neil Knudsen? He's in NHS, varsity basketball, and he does tech for the musical. He does it all.
Yeah. What's the question?
How do you he does it all? How do you feel? Do you think he sleeps?
I'm sure he did sleep. I mean, he's a really intelligent person and can probably figure anything out. So, I'm sure he finds a way to balance everything out.
Okay, thank you.
Hey, audience members.
Sorry!
Everyone say one word to describe Neil Knudsen.
Cute. Tall.
Skinny.